This is Elena Wagner on Monday, April 9th at around 3 p.m. with Alicia, Littletree, Bales. Alicia, there's been a lot of Occupy protests on campus and in Oakland this past year. What has been your experience of these protests?
Well, pretty interested. I've been following it a bit. I've been sort of observing what they've been doing and very interested, but I have an 8-year-old son. And in my younger days, in my pre-parenthood days, I did a lot of protesting, a lot of organizing, sat through a lot of meetings, and I'm not able to do that now. But I've been keeping my eyes out for similarities and differences with my own experiences as a direct action organizer and activist. So, of course, I'm very, very interested in what they're doing. And when I was organizing, we would do blockades, but occupations were always, in my mind, sort of the best desired goal. Like, we could do blockades. We were working in the redwood forests in Northern California, and we were doing lockdowns, and we were stopping the logging, literally stopping it with our bodies. And it always seemed like the best tactic would be to just completely occupy the sites, because there'd be so many people there. And symbolic sort of take back, sort of assertion of our will to keep the place standing, kind of thing, with all of these bodies. And so, of course, I was really, really pleased when that became the tactic and the overarching unifying goal of this movement, right? So I knew it was something good. But so I participated in a few of the marches, and at one point I got to go and watch one of the General Assemblies, which was really interesting. My son was there and quite uninterested, so I kind of had one eye on my son and one eye on the meeting, just to see how it went.
What was so interesting to you about the General Assembly?
Well, it's very deliberately egalitarian. Just the construction of it, with the way that people repeat back, it's almost more egalitarian than functional. You know what I mean? Like, I've been through many a meeting, and I've facilitated many meetings, and the goal of a facilitator in a non-authoritarian or an egalitarian group is to make sure everybody's voices are heard. But in this way, the structure makes everybody involved in making sure everybody's voices are heard and registered and reflected back to them. It's almost like the structure is the most important thing going on, that the assertion of communication and received communication, you know what I mean, that people are hearing it and letting the speaker know that they're hearing it. And it's almost like in when you go to counseling or therapy, they have this thing called active listening. It's like activism meets therapy, almost. Like, so trying to create a psychological new paradigm, you know, like we are actively listening and we're showing that we're actively. I mean, it's just so interesting because, like, we had a structure that, you know, I remember some of the drawbacks of the consensus process when I was organizing, you know. Everybody has to be fully engaged in this process for it to work, and has to be meaning well. You know, it has to be a really good faith effort, and I'm not sure how much can get done in a General Assembly of that type, but I think it's very valuable to have just the assertion of those values as your primary central organizing and recruiting body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that people know they're coming into something in which everybody's voice is equal, and that's such a high ideal and probably not true, but at least, like, the structure is reflecting that goal. But I've also heard that it's very hard in Occupy. I also have really good friends who are kind of lead organizers over in San Francisco. And one of the things that's been challenging is that it's hard to create a constituency when you can just come to a General Assembly and be an equal part of the decision-making process, you know? So it's just sort of a balance that they've been navigating through it. But, and I'm so impressed and amazed with their organizing and their stamina, but, like, yeah, I think everybody will say that. Like, we don't know who we are, and it's hard to define ourselves when we don't have, you know, edges. But anyway, and also, as just a person who's not organizing, it's also a really interesting way to relate to a movement that I'm not really used to. But I've gone on marches and really not known where to go or what to do once I got there. You know, like, I marched from campus. It was so much fun. We marched. I wasn't even going to go. I was like, yeah, they'll do it. I'll just go and take care of my life, whatever. I'm graduating. I just can, grocery shopping, bedtime, whatever. But I saw them out there at noon, and everyone was gathering, and I was like, oh, they're so brave. I can't not do it. I have to go with them. And I called a friend on the way, and he met me, and then we walked down there, and it was so great when we arrived. It was like we were welcomed in, and all these other groups were arriving. It was the big one after Occupy was cleared.
Where were you, in Oakland?
We walked down from campus down to Oscar Grant Plaza.
Yeah.
So, and it was just like packed. There were thousands of people there, and we sat for a while and sort of watched people at the little amphitheater, and then we sort of like walked around to see it, but then we went to lunch. It was like, okay, we did I just wasn't sure where or how to plug in, which was a strange experience for me because I was always the one, like, I don't know, like the MC, when the rallies arrived, I would be like welcoming people in or at the table or whatever. There really wasn't a lot of room. I hadn't been prepared to go to the thing or anything. I just kind of spontaneously went and saw it and was really happy and proud and cheered everyone on. I mean, big difference for me was that it's just so racially diverse and it's urban, obviously. And I was used to working in a mostly white rural movement. So that's like totally thrilling. I love to see that. It's so different, so exciting, it's just so charged and powerful. And then of course, like all different classes, socioeconomic classes are involved in this one, which is very exciting. Yeah, I just didn't have a long-term ability to plug in. So I came, I saw, I ate a salad, I walked back.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing your experience with me.
Sure thing.